I've been dating for nearly 20 years. I've witnessed the good, the bad, and the ugly. There was Andrew, gay. Chad, also gay. There was Dave the narcissist, and Ben, who is married but swears it was for a green card. The list goes on and on. But a few years ago, I met Greg. A friend introduced us on the metro, and we instantly clicked. He was clean cut in a suit and tie, a little shorter than I usually go for, but he had stunning blue eyes, blonde hair, and a great smile. He was nice, he was funny, he was charming. He asked for my number and actually called. I know. On our first date over martinis, we talked about our love for rival baseball teams, how he was in law school, and about how he loved his family in New Hampshire. And as one martini turned into two, turned into more, the conversation flowed and we laughed at the same jokes. And then he did something surprisingly simple. He said, I've had a great time tonight. I'd love to see you again. I was thrilled. I said yes. And while there was emailing and texting in between, date number 2 finally arrived. And I was relieved to find that the easy banter and the comfortable aura from date number 1 wasn't a blip. We continued to laugh and flirt and talk politics and make what I'm pretty sure were googly eyes at each other. And not one of my bullshit detectors went off. Here, my shoulders dropped and I sighed a little sigh of relief as here was a guy who seemed to like me as much as I was starting to like him, and he asked me out again, and I said yes. And on date number 3, I let Greg hold my hand as he walked me home, came into the elevator, and up into my apartment. Now, while there may or may not have been smooching, I sent him home early because I am a good girl. And I started to let my hope overrule my skepticisms. And I started to think about date number 4 and date number 5 and just let myself think about where this was going to go. And in the days that followed, there was silence. Nothing. Zilch. Now, in the days that followed, I just assumed he was busy. He was in law school. Or maybe he lost his phone. Or maybe his battery died and he couldn't find a charger. These things happen. And I texted and I left a voicemail and I kept it light and breezy, but there was still radio silence. So then I started to tiptoe down the rabbit hole, replaying all the dates, all our conversations. Had I said something to offend him? Had I missed a sign? Was I a bad kisser? Was the Yankee Red Sox thing really too big to overcome? And when I was done overthinking in my own head, I turned to my friends, asking them to help me dissect every scene like a CSI unit. And when I exhausted their brains, I turned to Google. I Googled, how do you date a law student? I don't think that was the answer. I Googled, what happens after 3 dates? And you would be surprised how many blogs and articles there actually are on that topic, basically telling me that I screwed it all up because I didn't sleep with him. But after all the investigations, after all the replaying and dissecting and reinterpreting the conversations and the interactions, the only person who knew the answer was Greg. The only person who knew what I had done wrong was Greg himself, because it had to have been something that I had done. Because isn't that why all my dates go south? So there I was, alone, again, exhausted, and my head hurt. A few weeks later, I was on my way to work on the metro. It was about 8 a.m., about half-empty car. And at the next stop, Greg gets on the train. Fuck. Thankfully, he sat with his back to me, so he didn't see all of my goosebumps standing at attention, and hopefully did not hear the pounding in my heart. There Greg was, alive and well, with his cell phone intact. And as I slouched lower and lower in my seat, I was wondering if I could actually become invisible, or maybe slip into the next car at the next stop, or somehow pretend that I didn't even exist. But then I calculated how many minutes, how many metro stops I had Greg as a captive audience. I then calculated how many people were on the train sitting in complete silence who would no doubt hear every word I said. And did I really want this private conversation out there for public consumption? So after all of the wondering, all of the confusion, after the years of getting my heart trampled on, I said, fuck it. And I stood up, walked 10 paces, plopped down next to him, and went, hi! Hi. This is pretty awkward for you, isn't it? Yeah. You know, we were having fun hanging out, and I don't know what happened. What's up with that? I don't know. I got scared, and I panicked, and I'm sorry. You're kind of ready to get off this train now, aren't you? Yeah. And at the next stop, Greg scurried off the train, and the doors shut. And so, while it was short and sweet and terribly lame, I now had my answer. I knew what had happened, and I knew it had nothing to do with me. So today, I'm still dating. I'm witnessing the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I hope that if I Google, what does a strong woman in the dating world look like, that maybe I'll find my picture. Thank you.